On this virtual tour stop, I'm introducing you to the concept of a cluster of cavity trees. So red-cockaded woodpeckers, they're fairly social birds. They live in these clusters of cavity trees. So if you look to my right, in fact, again, this is 360. You can look up, down, all the way around. Just use your mouse or VR goggles or whatever you're doing to look around. We have two woodpecker trees right over here. We have one kind of right behind you. It's a nice, probably 16-inch diameter longleaf. Then we have a couple if we just kind of look downhill here. And this collection of cavity trees is referred to as a cluster. A family of red-cockaded woodpeckers occupy these trees at various times. Sometimes they're active, sometimes they're not active trees. But this cluster of trees kind of forms the center point of a larger area that we call foraging partition, or a partition. Partition is where they feed. So they live in the cluster of cavity trees. They live in the individual cavity trees, which form a cluster on the landscape. And then the area surrounding those cavity trees, or the cluster of cavity trees, is referred to as the foraging partition. So that is the area where they feed. That is the area in which we need to make sure that we maintain this habitat to provide enough foraging area for the birds to survive and thrive. So in later videos, you'll hear me talking about things like partitions and foraging area. I might even say cluster a couple of times. I just wanted to make this brief video to give you an idea of how those terms work and what those actually look like on the landscape. So again, to recap, cluster of cavity trees forms the center of a larger area that we would call the partition. So with that, I'd encourage you to take a second here to look around. Again, kind of take in this forest community, get an idea of what it looks like, how it seems to work, because again, this is pretty textbook stuff in here. And then I'll move on to some other videos.